This is nature of addiction. Can't cope with how we living. So we pour ourselves into what only sleeps to give us.
Welcome guys to another video with content to make your game the best it can be and improve your experience playing PES 2021, and this information can apply to other previous versions of this game. So here is our agenda. We're gonna go through adding a stadium server. We're gonna source more stadiums, where to get them, set up the game for offline, and using a CIDR manual overlay to choose your stadiums. So you need to watch the whole video because I got content all over the place, all the way to the end. So we're gonna start with adding a server using the smoke patch. As you know, I'm a fan of the smoke patch, and in the description below, I have a link with a video I have on how to install this patch for 2021 and applies again for any of other patches. This initial smoke patch, when you install it, it has improvements to your kits, to mini faces, to boots, balls, a lot of, all the uniforms, teams. It's very good, and it has stadiums as well. But if you want to keep improving and adding more content, you're gonna have to add an add-on to the patch, and that's where we talk about the CIDR add-on. So you see here the smoke patch that we talked about in a previous video. And now for this patch, we got the CIDR SP21, which is actually CIDR version 7. And there is a CIDR install, and this allows you to add extra content, like more stadiums, which is what we are interested on doing today. So let's hit stadiums just to describe that. And under stadium, you see that we talk about a stadium server CIDR version. This is where we're going to be adding new stadiums from different sources. We have a nice community for the PES game. This is what makes it so great. Stadiums in server, you see that we got 32 stadiums that you can add through the CIDR, but you need to obviously install the CIDR first. Again, this is an add-on to the original patch. So we're gonna show you here and how to install the CIDR briefly. Once you get it installed, because you extracted the files and loaded it, the folder, when you install it, it should show here in the game folder. You see Steam Library, Steam Apps, Common, and eFootball PES 2021. That is your game folder, as we call it. And once you download the files, see, the folder will be next to that executable for your game, and it's right there. It should look like this. Again, you're going to be extracting, and then you drag the folder in the game directory. Okay, so that is for the CIDR installation, and perhaps we should go over that a little bit more. And what I want to say is that it says it here in the instructions, inside that folder. Now, the stadiums will not appear in the game stadiums, and just a reminder that you're going to be selecting home ground, and then they will automatically show up when you're playing the game. We'll get more detail on that later in the video. Okay. So we got some download links here, and you click right there. You see that there's several download folders, and you need to download them all together. I mean, one by one, but it needs to be in the same space, the same download folder, for example. And then you're going to be extracting the first one again, and it will create a single file for that stadium server. Okay. there are, some fixes down there. You see fixed stadiums. You can always open that. You can read instructions. It's pretty simple. But when you open it, it's gonna look like this. Let me go right into my game folder. Let me go to D. I have it on my D drive, and I'm looking for Steam apps. And this is a good example, you guys, where to find it. Steam apps, common. And you find your guy here, and you see that it looks just like they were showing, where the cider folder is right there next to your application, right there. So if I open that, all these should be loaded there. And I'm opening, you see, I'm finding the Stadium server, which is just a box with a folder with all the stadiums right there. Look at all the, I have actually kept adding a lot more stadiums. So you're not going to have as many as this when you start the first time, but I've been adding more, and I'm going to show you how to do more. Okay. So those are the stadium folders, and there's also mapping that you need to do to make sure the folder matches the team that it needs to go to. All right, so that's what the two text files you see down here. I'm opening one here for map teams, and you see a whole list of stadiums and teams associated to it. And you see that we got several columns here, and I'm gonna describe what these mean. So let me just go a little bit higher here. And for example, I got this guy, and the first number will be the stadium or the team ID. Let me go up here to the column top. As you see here, the stadium ID, you need that. That needs to be the correct one. And that is provided usually by when you download the information. The second one is the stadium ID. The third one is you have what you're going to call the stadium, but you want to call the right thing, right? Then a comma, and then you have the folder, and this needs to match the folder name. Make sure this matches exactly the folder name, because that's how it finds it. Once it's got that with the matching team, this is extra information with the hashtag, and you want to put the right team, obviously, because you want to know what belongs to what. And guys, that's how this is gonna look when you're done. You need to make sure that you map it, and also you have all your stadiums right there. Okay, so I have an MLS folder. I wanted to say something else here that I downloaded after I did the whole cider. I went out and found this in all these stadiums, and it became actually a folder within my stadium server. And how does it find when it's in its whole folder, like MLS folder? So the mapping is gonna look like this, and you see you got a lot of mapping here done. And what you see is that you're gonna have the stadium ID, the team ID, the stadium ID, again, the name. But in this case, you see here that I have MLS right there, MLS / and then the name of the stadium folder. Make sure that MLS / so then it's gonna fish out, it's gonna go for that folder in the stadium server and look inside it and find the right folder. So all of these are inside that particular MLS folder that I got here. All right. So that's how you handle the mapping, and you contain all the information. So where else you can get more stadium? A great source is PES Patch, and I will have all the links for all the sites that I will be mentioning down in the description. Let me just increase this so we can see it better. And this PES Patch has a lot of content, and it's got information for PES 2021, and it's got for older versions of the game, 19, But let's look at PES 2021, and you see it's got different patches, kits, etc. And you got stadiums here. So let's click on stadiums there. And the community, this is a bunch of different developers have been downloading and contributing all these stadiums here. I'll give you an example on how to source these stadiums. So I'm gonna hit continue here and give me more detail on that particular entry. Talks about improve La Liga stadiums, and you see they got quite some of the stadiums here, Wanda Metropolitano, etc. And what we're gonna do is gonna go in there and find an example that we're gonna pull out and put it in our server. But look at this, they got a whole bunch under that one entry. Okay, so I'm gonna download, find the download here, and they got them all separate folders here, or separate compressed files. So I'm just gonna pick one out, Balaidos, that's for Celta Vigo, and I'm gonna download it in my downloads. Let's hit save here to download. That compressed file is done. Let's just close this here. And let me go back and close a couple of advertisements that usually pop up. And let's look on the downloads. And here's the compressed file. Okay, that's just for one stadium that I just sourced, and we're gonna add it to our server that we installed. So here we're gonna extract it using whatever application you want. I'm using zip 77 and created a folder that has these two assets and other folder, and the one above it with the name of the stadium, that's the one you want to copy and place in the stadium folder. So we're gonna copy that, and I'm gonna go back where we installed the CIDR. Let me just go back to the game folder. SD maps, common, and here's my CIDR. I'm gonna go in there, go to content, and find my stadium server. I'm gonna open that, and here we see all these folders. I'm gonna copy my new stadium that I'm interested in, or an updated stadium, and put it here. So I'm gonna paste it, and it's gonna go right in this directory. So there it is. Now remember, we need to map to match that name exactly. So our job now is to go to the mapping and find how to associate this. All right, so here it is. I found here the Balaidos, Celta de Vigo, and I had it before, a version of it before, but it didn't have that slash in the name. So I'm gonna put that line there, and it will match now what we loaded new, the new folder we loaded. So we got the proper mapping, and now the CIDR should be able to fish it out properly. And that's all you need to do, guys. Now it's map there as we should. And there is a competition folder for mapping as well. You need to map, and it has a different hierarchy here. And you can read through and where you download the stadiums, how you need to map it, but it's pretty similar. All right, so we got the PES patch done, and we got another example, and this is We Love PES. They got a whole lot of stadiums as well. They got stadium directories and names. This is very cool. There are many resources. If you type PES mods, stadiums, stuff like that online, you can search more sites. But this one, I click on that particular stadium, and you see that I got a share mod vehicle for downloading. Here comes some advertisement. I'm gonna close it. I'm using the free download approach, so more commercials will come up. I'm gonna close that. I'm gonna click it again. I'm doing this in purpose so you see that that will happen, but you can always close those windows until the actual download file pops up, like it happened here. And here's another ad. I'm gonna close it, and you see that it's still downloading and has finished downloading my zip file. And it should be there in the download. And we're gonna use the same approach that we used before from PES Patch. You're gonna create that folder, and it's right there. You put it in the stadium like we did before. I'm not gonna repeat the whole process, but you guys know what you need to do. All right. So the last one I wanna touch on is the dream patch, guys. This is indeed a dream patch because it's got more, I like to think that it has more than 600 stadiums in it. It's amazing the amount of material, and this patch has what they call the actual patch for the game, just like Smoke Patch, and also has a stadium server. So you see right here we got stadiums just dedicated just for stadium right there, and you can download that one alone and use it with the Cider 7 that we get through Smoke Patch. Look at how beautiful they have finished that stadium. Very good. So we're gonna download the stadiums here, and I would like to highlight that they have so many stadiums here that it takes quite a while. And you see they got it by country. And when I talked about folders from a country folder, like United States here, you got the MLS, they all come together on the one folder. And that's why you saw when I started that in my server, I had a particular folder for MLS. I got it from these guys here. So you see, oh, they got a lot of stuff. And it will take, I think, about 100 gigabyte to download this whole server. All the stadiums. I did, just, when you can do that, spare the time maybe before you go to bed, you set it up and you download and unpack it. So it's got here 3 compressed files, and I think each one of them is about 5 or 4 to 5 gigabyte, but when you compress it, it's gonna be large. So I just want to highlight that in case you think it's super slow, but it is what it is. So here it is when I downloaded all the 3 files. Remember, the first one is the one you're gonna extract, and when you do that, it's gonna create that single folder with all your stadiums. Let me open here. And you see you got all the Dream Patch Stadium server. And if we go there, look at by country, these are folders. These are not stadiums. These are whole countries that have a bunch of stadiums in it, each one of them. So you can browse, and what you can do is just, download this, and then you will have to pick, you want to just England, and you can just download the England folder at that time. And they got this all mapped, and what I recommend is you take their map file and copy the whole thing right into the file you have for your cider from Smoke Patch, and it should work fine. Then you don't have to go one by one. You have them all. You can keep adding the folders from here, and they should be matching okay. But you see here that if I open this MLS, this is what I had. This is a whole bunch. They got 20 stadiums here that I was able to download. And this is why I had that folder. And I already explained how to map it so it goes into the folder and fishes out the right stadium for your team. Okay? And the nice thing is by then providing the mapping, you got the team IDs, etc. Now, it is important to talk about things like how to set up the game for offline. There are two approaches to this, and you may have read that you need to play offline in order for this mod to work properly. So there are ways to do that. One is that you're gonna go into your game folder. Here, remember that the CIDR is there where your application is. And you're gonna go into the CIDR folder, and we're gonna do a little edit in the configuration file for the CIDR. Let me go down here. This is the CIDR. And there will be a file that says configuration, CIDR configuration. Some people call it ini. But it reads configuration here. So what we're looking for is that we're gonna add, this is a bunch of instructions of what the CIDR is gonna do when it starts out. And you can put an instruction here to block the network. So it's not gonna try to do a live update, which will, because if that happens, then the patches will be overridden by the live update. So what you wanna, I put here, I activated the network block. And that line actually was already there, and all I needed to do was to remove a semicolon to make the ad active. You see, there's a bunch of instruction. If they have a semicolon in front, that instruction is not active, but I removed that from here, and now it is all set to block my network update, and I will have no problems. I need to save that file, and I can just activate by clicking the CIDR executable, it will start the game. You saw there that I created an icon for that executable, so it kicks in the game. So let's see how that looks. So when you open the game, it's gonna start loading. And guys said, I'm going slow because these things, there's a lot of great contents many people have put out, but they go so fast, and most of them, there is no commentary. So the information that you get is very concise, and often it's hard to interpret. So here it is, online is blocked. It says you cannot find online. In this case, we'll have to go in, and we cannot use a My Club in this case because we had it blocked. I have a PS4, and I updated or loaded the light version of the game to do online. But you can go local here, which is the other option. If you were updating and you were online, then you need to go into here and press the right stick down on your controller to bring this up, and then hit live update off. This is if you didn't have that instruction that I said to include in the configuration file. You'll have to do this. So once you do that, live update off, you can just get out of this screen here and go back, and your CIDR will work fine. That is one way that you can play My Club when you let it update automatically. If not, then you need to do this second option. All right. So CIDR overlay for manual selection of stadium. This is the last mystery I had to learn. Here we got San Siro because we're gonna play with Milan, and this is what the game mapped and is correct, is San Siro. So if we wanted to activate the overlay, we hit the space bar and bring this manual overlay. This is CIDR 7.0.2. Important thing is it's CIDR 7. And you see here that in order to activate the manual, we'll have to hit another key. You see all the way at the bottom, it says selection mode, automatic map assignments. Right now it's automatic. But if we want to do manually, and by the way, it says manually selected right at the bottom, stadium none. So we're going to hit the keyboard number 9 and allow for manual selection of stadiums. And pay attention right there. See, it changed to page up, page down. Now manual selection is active. Now we can scroll down, up and down using the page up and page down. And in this case, let me see. I was gonna keep scrolling. This is pretty cool. And why don't we pick San Mamés, Atlético de Bilbao in Spain stadium, just for show, even though we're playing with Milan. But I'm gonna show you that we are in manual selection, even though that says San Siro here. We know that we switched it to manual, and indeed, it pops out San Mamés. Beautiful. Now, that's not what we wanted to do originally, so, because, you know, we want to play with the right team and the right stadium, so let me just get out, and we're going to switch this back to automatic. So let me activate the overlay, because I think we left it in manual. So you see it's manual at the bottom there. So I'm going to hit the key 9 and make it automatic. And there it is, automatic. And it will be San Siro. It's going to use what it should have used with the proper mapping automatically. And there it is. Look at how beautiful the community is just designing, upgrading this. Well, guys, I hope this is useful to you guys. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and give it a like, so I know this content is helping you out. Until the next one. Enjoy the little minute of game here.
Empty chaos, fuck the demons and like, well maybe Jesus can come and save us. For myself it was a slave free, God created and forsaken. Overwhelmed by what darkness slays within us. In my heart of hearts, do I secretly hate women? Cause I'm lost in these images with this violent hypnotism. I'll be scrolling and clicking and rejoicing in the vicious nature of the videos that I made. Give me the most brutal fuck from behind, come on her face, or put it in the ass and gon' give her a taste. More than 50 shades with the count, they say was dreaming up. No, I don't need it, but this is what I'm feeling for.